Hello, 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 my friends, and good morning, and welcome to Wow Wednesday. If it's Wednesday, it must be time for some wow. I am Nancy Matthews, one of the founders of Women's Prosperity Network, bringing you this midweek boost of motivation, education, and inspiration since 2009. So we get together every Wednesday morning and make an intention to make this a Wow Wednesday rather than, oh, it's hump day, I just can't wait for the weekend. No, we're here, we're now, open this gift of the present and enjoy it thoroughly. Today, I get to introduce you to Shari Sternberger, and we're going to be talking today about having better surgery outcomes through healing touch. And as you think about surgery, you might think, oh, I'm not going for surgery, or perhaps you are, but surgery runs the gamut of dental work, elective things, anything that's really invasive on the body. And Shari's going to give you some great tips and suggestions to make all of that easier for you. So I'll bring her on in just a moment. A couple of announcements for Women's Prosperity Network. We've got a lot of great things happening right now for you to support you in having that bigger impact, bigger income that you want. So a couple of things. First of all, this Friday and Saturday is our 2-day sales and marketing boot camp. And this is for anyone who would love to reach more people and have more people saying, yes, I'd love to work with you. Tell me how. So if you don't like selling, but you enjoy giving your services, join us at the Sales and Marketing Bootcamp, and you can go to Women's Prosperity Network's event calendar, and you'll get the link for that. Also, next week, we have our Networking with a Twist, which is your opportunity to meet 10 to 12 people through different breakout sessions that we do and really make connections beyond just putting your info in the chat. We really want you to get to know each other, to collaborate and connect. The third thing is next Thursday, I am hosting a class on leadership to support you in growing as the leader that you are, increasing your capacity to serve. So that's a free complimentary class, which free and complimentary mean the same thing, that I'm doing on Thursday, the 23rd. And again, all of the information for what we have coming up is available on our events calendar. And today we're going to dive into how you can experience all the different things that we go through in life with our bodies in a more powerful, peaceful way with Shari Sternberger. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Shari Sternberger is a holistic energy practitioner on a mission to support your health and wellness journey. She specializes in preparing people for surgery by promoting physical, emotional, and mental well-being. She brings more than 20 years of experience as a certified holistic healing touch practitioner for both people and animals, and utilizes a variety of energy-based tools such as aromatherapy, sound therapy, crystal healing, color puncture, sacred geometry, and plant-based essences. Shari, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here in front of this lovely audience. I deeply appreciate it. And just a quick shout out to Rita. She helped me get the presentation I needed, and there was a little bit of a challenge, but in the end, we are here, and I am grateful. So thank you, Rita.
We love our Rita Thomas, the funnel godmother. Yes, we do. And one of the things I love about Rita is her commitment to make sure that anyone she's working with gets exactly what they need, no matter how challenging it is. So kudos to you, Rita Thomas. Shari, I want to start us off today by asking, how did you end up on this path of really specializing in helping people get better surgery outcomes? How did that come about for you?
That kind of came as a fluke. You know, in this business, everybody wants you to have a niche. And my original company name was Elements of Energy, and I thought that was a better name since I have such a big basket of energy tools. Mm-hmm. But, I would frequently get calls from the government saying, well, are you solar? Are you wind? Or, and I'd say human, and then the phone would hang up. So I'm like, well, maybe I need a better name. So wellness came about by Shari. And over the 20 years, I've seen various things. But in the last, I guess, 6 or 8 weeks, I got calls. It's like, I got a colonoscopy going up, and, my family has cancer, and my anxiety is over the top, and I got to take all that yucky prep, and I'm going to feel terrible the next day. And I said, are you interested in some support, which I do before the event, during the event, and after the event. There are like 3 pieces to the energy work that I do. And I checked in later in on Monday, and he's like, I didn't miss a beat. Everything just went well. And oh, by the way, all my results are great. And he could just pick up. And I asked, how are you doing on your diet? Please make sure you introduce food slowly. Be it a man. He says, no, I've already had a bunch of potato chips and something else, but I feel fine. So, that was one. And then I had another one come to me for a D&C that she needed. And she also was very anxious. And again, we did the before, during, and we're still waiting for the doctor's confirmation to make sure everything's in place. And I'll do the last piece. And then the last one that just came in is one that's a little bit more challenging. This 80-year-old man has severe heart problems and other circulatory issues, and they had to amputate part of his foot. And they were worried about the amputation. First of all, I've gotten good news. The wound is healing extremely well. But the issue comes next is phantom pain. And I've never worked with phantom pain. I reached out to one of my instructors who gave me some support. And that's going to be the next thing that we're going to be doing for this lovely gentleman and family to make them whole again. So those are just some examples of work I've done.
And it's interesting, as you were talking about the people you've recently worked with, I mean, a colonoscopy, I wouldn't have thought of that as surgery necessarily, and really nervous when going for it, right? So when we are faced with, and I'm going to use this term, I don't know if it's correct or not, but if it feels like an affront upon our body, like even if something is not working well and we're going to the doctor and it's about getting us better, the fear of what's going to happen can get in the way of the healing. Am I getting that correct?
Absolutely. Fear takes over, tremendously. And that's one of the reasons the gift that I have for everybody today is the chakra connection, because it's an ancient system. It's well known. And if you give it some time and work with it, you'll be surprised how it really supports you, as well as let you know, because each chakra is related to different organs, that's where you may have some difficulty. And that could be good information for your doctor.
All right. So get us started. And again, I don't know if you're listening right now and you've got something coming up right away, or someone you love is going through it. You definitely want to reach out to Shari. But what are some of the things we can do if we're, facing something coming up?
Well, the first thing is to just think about what the procedure is and ask all the questions that are needed. Like, for example, I'll talk about myself. I've had skin cancer, and I had to get this arm, a procedure done to take out the cells and get tested. So, I had to go to the hospital for that. Talk to the people, what's the procedure? What do I need to wear? What do I need to bring? How much downtime do I need? Should I eat something? All these questions, or what also gives you comfort, if it's for you to feel good in a certain piece of clothing, bring it on. If you need a stuffed animal or something, a crystal to hold on to, that's fine. I'll tell you my most funniest story, that I couldn't believe that she actually did this, but I had a dearest friend who had breast cancer. And I said I would go with her and I would sit for the transfusions with her. So I brought coloring books and all this other, and her mom says, don't be surprised when you see her. So I'm thinking she's going to be in really comfy jeans, sweatpants, or whatever. And she says, oh no, she's going to come dressed to the nines. And I'm like, what? She came in the highest heels. Okay. She came in fully dressed to kill, purse, perfume, hair done. And the nurses got a chuckle out of her because she said, I'm going to stomp out cancer. And she took her foot with that heel and just ground it into the floor. And she walked in so proud. And everybody looked at her because everyone else was in, like PJs, comfortable or whatever. But her attitude was, I'm going to kick this in the butt. I'm going to do it. So attitude has a lot to do with it. And her dressing just fit the whole piece for her. And she did extremely well. And yes, she liked my coloring books and tools and other things. And we were there for an hour and a half. And I stayed with her for each of the treatments. Plus I did energy work while she was there. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the fun stories or whatever.
Yeah. So if you're going in for something, arm yourself, prepare yourself with what makes you feel strong, powerful, confident, right? To master. Because when we're in those situations, really, it's about us, having no control. Yeah. So if we can find ways to bring control into it, that gives us, a much, much better outcome. So, yeah. Okay. So I know you said you talk about, so reducing the anxiety before you're going in, before surgery, during and after. Tell us about some of those distinctions.
So the first part of the before the surgery is where, let's say you're going to have a new hip put in, okay? And let's say you're 42 years old. You've had that hip for a long time and it served you well. So what I do is I actually do an honoring ceremony and I say, thank you, hip. You've done a great job. However, we need to bring in some new hardware, So I actually talk to the piece of hip that needs to be replaced. And I also ask the person on the table to say, thank you. You've done all you could, but I want to be able to play golf and do, so we're going to make some hardware changes, whatever their language is, that's how I talk. To me, it's like building a house. If I want to add a new extension, I need to know where the electric is, the water is, whatever else. So the body needs to know ahead of time. And if you talk to the body and say, this is what's going to happen, the body's going to respond a whole lot better. I have seen this numerous times. So that's the day before, typically. Mm-hmm. The day of surgery, I find out what your surgery time is, what hospital you're going to be at. And I actually clear the whole hospital. I say, whoever is going to touch that person from the moment they come in until the moment they check out, that everybody's in the right place. They've slept well. They're in a good mood. I've cleared the hospital, filled it with love for everybody, because everybody in the hospital needs love. And I set that stage and I check in, depending on how long the surgery is, periodically, and I send the appropriate energy work. Okay.
Wow.
So once the person comes home, I just quick check in and just seeing how they're doing. And the rule is if you get a new hip, you have to wait to go to the doctor to make sure everything is in a good spot, and once I get the doctor's confirmation that all is working well, then I do something what I call blueprint energy. So remember that house, and remember the other piece, you're going to integrate them together. Therefore, I want to make sure the blueprint of the body, which there is the color blue in your field, okay, that I want to make whole with this new hardware. And I integrate them together. And usually what happens, the people are usually on less meds, usually get into physical therapy and get back into the moving, grooving that they wanted to do, out golfing, being with family, whatever it is they need to do. And that also works for animals too. Okay. Mm-hmm. Don't forget your pets or companions. They have energy systems too, and they need support and help. With stuff also.
I'm listening to you, and I've been through 2 surgeries in my life. And I wish the doctors would have told me about this. Instead it's, make sure you get sleep or wake up at 2:00 in the morning to do this thing and get to the hospital. Like it's a whole different kind of experience, and bringing you and your services into the mix, what a difference it can make.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you go shopping for a doctor, now with all the way medical stuff works, you might have just 15 minutes. If you have the time and can afford it, try to get an integrated doctor because they're coming on board with stuff. But the other thing I'm going to say is the Energy magazine put out by Healing Touch and others. This whole energy issue is healthcare and energy medicine. This is what the future is going to look like. So you can go in and start talking about these things and planting the seeds that maybe the doctor will hear you. And the other thing is when you go in, if the doctor's not listening to you, you really have to call them on the carpet. I'm sorry. You need to respect my needs. I've told you what I need. If you're not going to do that and you interview your surgeon or whatever, then find somebody else. Mm-hmm. I know they've got things to do and all that other, but if they can't respect you and listen to you and answer your questions honestly, then no, that's a no-go for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that right there is a societal shift that I've seen taking place, because growing up, doctors were like God, like they know everything. Don't ask any questions. Don't question their competence or confidence or anything like that. But when you think about it, I hate to say it, but it is the practice of medicine. Right? Practice being the key word here. And I know, like when my mom was going through medical stuff, and even my grandmother, they were like, "Ooh, don't ask the doctor. You don't want to ruffle their feathers." Like, being concerned, like when you go to a restaurant and you send your meal back, you're afraid they're going to spit on it. Like, I think some of that comes up to prevent us from, affirming our independence and asking those questions. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Help me with that again, just a smidgen more. Something's clicking, but I just need a little more clarity if I could.
So the conditioning in our society has been trust the doctors implicitly. They know what they're doing. Don't question them.
Okay. So it starts with hopefully the new interns that are coming in, I think, are sensing to ask more questions. It's the new people going through medical school. I do think in medical school now, they're also realizing that hospitals are now evaluated. Okay. So every time you leave a hospital, you'll get a questionnaire. How was your service? How were you treated? How were you doing? So they are making an effort. And I know the last time I had to be in the emergency room due to high blood pressure that came, I got this long questionnaire and they failed me terribly. They really did. It was during the height of COVID. I understand it. I respect it, but I could have fallen out of bed and they wouldn't have even known it. It was not good at all. So again, when you go in, do give an honest survey of what's going on, of what's happening. So that's one thing. And also you just need to start talking to your family also. Because what happens is if your mom or dad are used to that, you listen to what the doctor says and you don't ask questions. It's time you talk to your family and say, no, mom and dad, we need to be more involved. Mm-hmm. So it starts in the home also. And it can also start with children, speak to your child. What are their fears? What are they worried about? What's going to make them comfortable? If you have a chance to go in some of the hospitals, Children's Hospital, I can give another example. Wayne and I don't have any children. We donate to the Children's Hospital, and one of the gifts that we've given is where we've had the Healing Touch practitioners come in and teach the nurses how to use Healing Touch. Mm. And at first they were very skeptical, but then when they noticed the kids saying, can I have some of that touch work before bedtime so I can sleep better? Okay, that really helped out. There was one client that ended up seeing me after. Children says there's nothing else we can do for you. And the poor child had terrible migraines, anxiety, and the Healing Touch made a huge difference in the hospital. And hospitals now are incorporating music and art therapy and all these other things. Children's National in DC now includes Healing Touch, and it's amazing. And the only group of people I had to really fight for was the NICU. And the NICU is like, these are special babies. You can't come in and do any of that work. And I stopped the nurses and I said, how important is it for you to get accurate information on that child? Hands raised. Yes, yes, yes. If that child is nervous and upset, what do you think your readings are going to be? Well, they might not be as true. How about you learn healing touch? Again, they fought me, and then finally 2 of them came, all right, because that's a very precious unit and they were really watching it. And guess what? They found out when the child was more relaxed, they got better information, which allowed them to treat those babies better. Less medication, touch was better, interaction with the family was better. It was wonderful. So I'm very proud that Wayne and I support Children's Hospital and help bring that teaching into place.
Beautiful. And as you're describing this scenario, and I think about, the anxiety of the parents, which then transfers to the child and the staff, like energy moves. Like if you've answered this question, have you ever been in a room where 2 people are fighting and it shifts your energy? I know I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think about that. So the more everybody can be calm and at least reduce that level of anxiety, it's absolutely key in all of our scenarios and interactions, especially when it comes to our survival instinct, right? Because if we look at it, any kind of surgery or things that we're going through related to the body is going to trigger that fight or flight response.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm a big candidate of it. I love my husband because he knows. And, when I was in the emergency room for the high blood pressure, which was courtesy of COVID, being anxious about what we could do and not do, he's like, please listen to her because she's telling you the truth. She's not BSing you just to make your life difficult. She's 69 years old. She knows her body. She's telling you how to put the IV in. If you can't listen to what she says, then bring somebody else in. Mm-hmm. And the nurse got rather rude at me. She's like, do you want someone else? And I said, can you do your job if I tell you what to do? I know my body. I need this size needle. And she's like, you're awful specific. And I'm like, I've lived in this body long enough to know what works. Will you please work with me? Yeah. And she looked at me and she did it. And she says, well, you're no problem. I said, because you listened. If you decided to brute force it on me, we would have had, a really awkward situation. Mm-hmm. So I've learned to speak up and so should you.
Yeah, love it. And that's really, really key and not always easy to do when you're feeling afraid.
True.
Right? So that ties into wherever possible, let your family know some of these things. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking maybe we need to talk with Mary Jane Charles, who does Last Wishes and Support, and say, what do you want for energy healing if something should happen? Like this should be something new that goes into our healthcare declarations and all those other pieces, or the power of attorney. Because if your family doesn't know what your belief system is and what has supported you, then you're going to miss out if you're, for any reason, incapacitated.
Yeah, I do know that healing touch is especially important when it comes for closure and end of life. Mm-hmm. There's a huge difference because people just don't know how to walk that path. Okay. And this is where aromatherapy really can make a difference. Because sometimes I have to admit, maybe the smells aren't as pleasant in that room, but if there's a way to bring some aromatherapy into it, mm-hmm. And also there's a wonderful gentleman I work over in the UK who does a lot of hospice care, and just a simple hand massage with one, essential oil of lavender and holding that energy and peace. It's just such a beautiful story that he explains, the patient, and then you see the family relax. And yes, it's a process. Yes, the person's going to die, but it's with dignity and love. And it really touches my heart when you could do that for someone to have closure.
Yeah, I actually just came back from visiting a friend who's in hospice, and I'm listening now and saying, oh man, I wish I had talked to you before I went there, because I would have brought something in. And now I'm like, okay, how can I bring some of this stuff in?
Yeah. And again, everybody has rules or regulations, but it makes a difference. And And the same is true. I'm going to go back to animals because I'm passionate about it. And my vet loves me dearly, but at the same time, I push her envelope. You know, she's very clinical. I can get good diagnoses, but I got to look at my animal and how my animal responds. And Dr. Jones knows that, you know, I did some volunteering at the vet office for a year, so I know how to hold a dog safely to get the blood that they need out of a neck. And one of the words I've taught my dogs to is the word trust. And when they hear the word trust, it's like, okay, mom's got my back. I know I'm going to get blood drawn, and the dog relaxes for me.
Wow.
Okay, that's been that started since puppyhood, you know, cutting toenails, anything. You could do the same with your children. Trust. Can you trust this? And we'll walk through it and we'll talk about it. And it's amazing. But the animals get it. You know, like I said, everybody comes in, it's, oh, the Sternberger dogs, they're going to be easy blood draws, you know, no fuss and no muss. And
normally not at all the case, right?
No, not at all. So the energy applies to everything in life. It applies to your cooking. Okay. If you have a good hand and you have the energy and you put love in it, someone's going to taste that love. So healing touch goes everywhere.
Yeah, it sure does. It goes into everything. I have a signature dish I make, which the family calls favorite chicken. And it's really just breaded chicken cutlets. But everybody's like, oh, it's the best chicken ever. It's because I make it with love. I love to make this for everybody. And you can feel the difference. You can taste the difference when there's love in your food. Beautiful.
Yes.
We're going to open up for question and answer in just a couple of minutes. And I'm curious before we do that. So you've had more than 20 years of experience in healing touch and various forms of energy, medicine and healing. How did that come about for you? Because it's not a traditional path.
This came due to my mother. Okay. When I grew up as a child, to share the story, my mother was eccentric, and we didn't know later that it was borderline personality disorder. And as a result, I didn't know what way would be up with her. Sometimes she would be angry, sometimes she would be happy. She worked 2 jobs. And the way I knew how the next day was going to be is that when she would put the key in the door, I could sense her energy. I could never explain it as a child, but I could sense that when that key went in, what Shari's day would be like the next day. And often through subtle energy that I never knew about until much later, when again I decided I want to work with animals, and I started with healing touch with animals, and then I eventually went to people. But my energy is not one where I can see or taste or smell or whatever. I just intuitively know, and the more that I let go, the more my work serves people better. If that makes any sense. Does that help as a story as to why?
Yes, it does.
The way I am.
Yes, it does. Like you sensed energy was your clue to how mom was going to be behaving. And so you learned early on that our energy is what really is driving the train.
Yeah. And it was my safety, because I'll be honest, my mother did get violent at times. And as a child, if it wasn't for my dog, I spent some time in a closet just for safety, just sharing that. So, you know, it was an interesting piece, and her life was interesting, but through energy work, we were able to help her and help me too.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's go ahead now, and I'm going to prepare for people to ask questions. Give me 1 second. To be able to ask questions, share ahas or insights. This is your opportunity to tap into Shari's brilliance. So if you're with us on the phone, hit *6. If you are with us on Zoom, you can simply raise your hand and we'll get your questions answered. While we do that, I know you've got a gift for everyone today. Please share what that is, and then I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat.
So the Healing Touch has this beautiful way of doing the chakra connection, and they made this wonderful flyer that's very self-explanatory, but I like to give some highlights to it, because in particular, when you go to do the throat chakra, many people like put their hands over top of it. well, especially with women, you want to have your voice be clear and heard. So I want to teach you little secrets, like to just cup your hand here, not to lay it flat, but to allow us as women to speak. Yeah. Women really need to speak. And the other one is at the base of where your two legs meet. Okay. And again, that's a very private area. You don't want to, again, put your hands right up there, but again, a few inches away. Okay. So, you know, having that connection to read through it, I'm going to give you little tips or advice, or you might have a question. Do I have it at the right spot? I'm there to help guide you. I'm so excited to share that with you guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Laura Barker says, I already got it. So let me tell everyone how they can grab this flyer that goes through this healing touch chakra activation. Is that how you would call it?
Yes.
Okay. So go to bit.ly/chakra flyer, all lowercase, and that is CHAKRAFLIER. So bit.ly/chakra, or chakra is probably the way to properly say it, chakra flyer, all lowercase. Let's go ahead and take some questions. Laura Barker, you're first up.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning, Laura.
Incredible, Shari. I just so resonated with what you said about the knowing your body. You know, I have been dealing with medical professionals, if you will, for a long time due to some chronic issues, right? I've had multiple surgeries. And let me just tell you, when I learned exactly what you just said, which is, you know, we have to be our own advocate, right?
Yeah.
We know better than they do. And I am so glad you brought this to everyone's awareness, because it is critical. And as I said in the chat, if they don't listen to me, they do not get to treat me.
Amen.
I consider every interaction with a medical profession an interview by me of them.
Yeah.
Before they get the right. And oh my gosh, wish I had known you for all the surgeries I've had, right? Oh my goodness. And I have a current issue we're going to talk about privately. So I'm just thrilled that you've come on to like explain exactly what you do and how you help. And I know the power of the chakra energy. So I just thank you. Love it. Awesome.
Thank you for sharing that, because the more people know, the better you can serve yourself and your family. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laura. And I am happy for you too that you found out about this. And again, having someone by your side, such as Shari, lets us be able to see things we can't see all the time when we're in the mix of the trauma or the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Really key. Awesome. Let's go. Abidel, did you want to share? I see your line is unmuted.
Even realize it was.
Magic.
Yeah, I just put a little message in the chat. I really wish I had met Shari before, when my good friend was passing of kidney cancer. It would have made his remaining time much more pleasant for him.
Yeah, cancer is a tough one on many forms. And the other piece you don't know about me, but I used to, we found an organization called National Capital Therapy Dogs, and we were one of the first people to bring animals into hospitals. And through the dogs that I had, they were allowed in bed with the children and trying to make their life better. And it's another special piece of me that people don't know about, but the animals in the hospitals and working together, again, the human-animal bond is another great piece, and often helped when procedures needed to be done. So, you know, the animals help get their blood drawn or get vitals for a child who's scared, and mom and dad are sitting in the corner of the room totally frightened, and the dog comes in and we had one dog, Gandalf, that was known as the big snuggler, and he would just crawl into bed and just lay with them and allow a procedure to be done that, when we were there, and to have fun and good conversations too. So that's another piece why animals are so important for me too.
Beautiful. Thank you, Abigail. Appreciate you being here and sharing. And right now, all of us that are here, whether you're listening live or listening to the replay, we're armed with new information to support this day going forward, because unfortunately, sickness and surgeries and illnesses and death and dying is just part of the process. So we have more, thanks to Shari, and I'm grateful. All right, more questions, comments. Mary Jane Charles.
Yes, good morning. Hi, Shari. Thank you for that card you sent me when Timmy died. That was like, oh, very appreciated. I just want to say, without knowing what I was doing, which is a lot of my life, I have worked with sick husbands, and a mother-in-law came to mind in this conversation. She was a very tiny little old lady. She was 95, and she won that Halloween contest for being the witch. And the way they knew who she was because she had tiny little feet, and they could pick her out that way. Well, I brought it up to her two sons. I said, your mother is sick. They're like, oh, she's just getting old. I'm like, get me off the bus. I was ready to knock their heads together. So I started the hospice. I just made phone calls, and they came in. She was able to stay at home. Bottom line, then she could be bathed. She was always immaculate, her hair and nails, but that was going south fast. And I said, we have to maintain her in the manner to which she would keep herself. And everyone was afraid to touch her. It was like she was going to break. And he said, no, just be gentle. And I would bring my dog, and without, between the two of them, Blazer would sit beside her and just lean. And she was not an animal person. And didn't she sit with her hand on him? And she wanted a glass of wine. I said, sure. I'm thinking, what the hell? She's 95. She's not going to drop dead from a glass of wine. She had these itty bitty glasses, so we would share. It's a sharing, and it's a very personal and lovely sharing when you take care of someone in that manner. Don't ask permission, just start the wheels. If you know this person is being set up to be a patient,
Awesome.
Put the patient to the side, take care of the human.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mary Jane, for sharing and for following your intuition in that scenario, right? That's what you knew, what was most important. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. And again, grab this now. And I believe, Shari, you have it set up where they get the flyer and then they can also schedule a time to meet with you. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm going to ask for a little forgiveness from the audience, is that I'm not tech on everything, so a calendar isn't easy to set up. So if you please follow the directions of giving me your email, and I will set up a time with you for 15 minutes to kind of review what you need to do and ask me questions. So I'm not as tech savvy, so just us healing people kind of, oh my God, tech, please, but I'm getting better. And
it's a different kind of energy frequency around all the
time.
things.
For energy. So, but I'll be there to serve you and make that appointment and make the time for you to chat. So I look forward to that.
So thank you for that generosity and commitment to bring this type of energy healing to people's lives, to make really that difference in living and also in dying. Like, it's huge, huge. Once again, you're going to go to bit.ly/chakra flyer, which is CHAKRAFLIER, all lowercase, all one word, bit.ly/chakra flyer. Let's go ahead and open up for our next caller, Rita Thomas.
Well, good morning and hello, Shari. What a great
Good
job.
morning, Rita.
I'll tell you, I, of course, handle the tech side of getting your CRM ready to receive all your Wow Wednesday people that want to work with you. And yet I'm so blessed to be moved and touched by the emotional side of what Shari does and the healing that can go on. And of course, I too am reminded just a year ago when my mom was passing, and I didn't know anyone like Shari that could make it better for both of us and touch all the hospital workers. I just didn't know anyone like that. And so I just want to say, Shari, you did a smashing good job. And I'm pretty sure what you told us about today is a tip of the iceberg of what you offer. So I say to everyone, if you don't have a procedure coming up, still connect with Shari. Get that flyer, make an appointment with her. She will just bring peace to your life and your heart just by talking to her for 15 minutes. And I've been blessed to talk to her for several days, while we were building this. But coming from the non-woo-woo world of logic, in my side of the fence, I have been absolutely so impressed by what Shari can do and gives of herself to do over a long period of time, because she works with you before the procedure, during the procedure, and after the procedure. So she's not going to leave you feeling vulnerable.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rita. And I feel your emotion and reminded, that you're probably just coming up on a year since your mom passed, right?
February 22nd it was, so it's just passed. And her birthday was Monday. So a couple things. Yeah.
She's around.
Yeah.
Her energy is here. Her spirit is here. Beautiful. And I love you, Rita. Thank you so much for all you did to support Shari and all of our other members and the many, many people that you serve.
It's my pleasure. I love every bit of it. All that tech stuff. I love it. And Abby, I got to say again, Abidel Bassey Cripps, brand new in the WPN world. She rocked the stuff that it was even deeper than what I know how to do in tech. And she was right by my side. We were holding hands, skipping down the trail.
Well, I think Abidel is someone we all need to know then too, right?
Indeed, especially if you're not tech.
And Wayne both by Zoom, and just kept everybody really calm and feeling all the love. And there was a lot to unpack in all the different tech connections that were involved in Shari's configuration. And we got it done, and she never gave up either. She's just as tenacious as I am. And
I'm thinking we need healing touch for tech. That's a new brand of energy. I'm serious here.
That is perfect.
Indeed.
All right, beautiful. Thank you, Rita. We love you so, so much. And let's go ahead to our next caller, I believe. Phone number 850-896. Your line is open. Would you like to ask a question or share? I think, or maybe your line's open and you didn't realize it. So once again, this is your opportunity to ask questions of Shari. If you've got something coming up or something happening and you're not quite sure how to go about it, go ahead and hit *6, or you can pop your question in the chat and I'm going to ask a question. So being long distance, so I have this friend who is in hospice right now. I'm long distance, I'm not there. What are some things that I can do being 1,000 miles away?
Can you talk to her on the phone? Or
yeah, I can. It's a man. I can talk to him. Yeah, we talk on the phone for sure.
Okay, all right. So one of the things you can do is energy work, as my instructor would say, intention trumps technique. So if you do the chakra connection, Okay, you learn how to do it. Give me a call. And then you can actually do the chakra connection and hold the space that they can let go with ease and grace. So you're going to talk to the chakras, which are the key energy systems in the body.
Mhm.
And one by one, they will disappear and the person will pass over. You need to be really grounded to do this.
Mhm.
That's where my 20 years comes in. You know, I'm very good at putting cement shoes on people to make sure they're grounded. So let's talk to make sure you can do that, because I wouldn't want you to take on anything that you shouldn't take on. And that's
Right.
one of the things you need to realize, that it's good to give to people, but you also need to be grounded and centered to be able to send the energy, but you don't want to take the energy on yourself.
Right.
And
Right.
as a student, I can tell you that was a learning lesson, you know, especially when it came to animals, and I would do work for having animals depart or be euthanized. I would take that energy home, and I had to learn how to confine that to serve people, but also protect myself too. So we can chat and make sure you have a way to connect, even if they're a million miles away. You will be able to connect. Does that help?
Thank you. Yeah, very much. Very much. Thank you for that. I want to say thank you to Shari for joining us today, and be sure you grab her gift, and which is the chakra flyer, as well as a conversation with her. Go to bit.ly/chakra flyer, CHAKRAFLIER. Grab it now. Even if you don't think you need it, grab it now, because you just might in the future. Shari, thank you so much for your commitment, your calm, and your power that you bring to us in the most, trying of times. I appreciate you greatly, and thank you for being here today and bringing that power through all the challenges that you faced. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for all the great questions. Keep them coming. It helps me make myself better every day. So thank you. Thank you, Nancy.
You are most welcome. You're most welcome. And to all of our listeners out there, know that you are loved, appreciated. I know Roz is in the house, loved, appreciated, celebrated, cherished, and most valued. Value yourself and all of the pieces that you can bring to the table to live and experience your best life. And energy healing and energy medicine is part of it. Get out there, make it a wow day, and we'll see you next week for another Wow Wednesday, as well as one of our upcoming events or workshops. So be sure to go to our event calendar at womensprosperityNetwork.com and join us. Bring your energy and your spirit to this awesome community. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye, Shari.
Thank you.